The salvage crew found me on a Tuesday, though I didn't know it was Tuesday anymore. I had stopped counting weeks somewhere around the 8th month, when the subsection I was living in finally stopped making the sound that meant it might come down on my head. After that, I counted by the seasons, and the Denvrath Reach had two, the wet one and the one where the vines died back enough that I could see the sky through the collapsed gallery ceiling. I had been in the ruins 3 years. The crew chief, a young Oreth male with the pale gold collar markings of a third-tier salvage license, stopped dead when he saw me. I was sitting on a toppled column eating cold flat cake I had cooked 2 days before over a fire built from the dry vine cores, and I had a survey pack on my left and a hand-drawn structural map of the lower hold on my right. He stared. I offered him the flat cake. He said something in Orath that I didn't catch, and then said it again louder, and within 60 seconds every one of his 8 crew members was crowded into that doorway looking at me like I was a door that had opened in a wall that had no doors. I told them my name and my contractor registration number, which I still remembered. I told them the date I had gone under, when the east gallery floor gave way and dropped me 40 feet into the sublevel, and the passage behind me filled with stone before I could cross it. I told them the sections I had mapped, the water source I had found, the 2 structural failures I had documented that the surface team would want to know about before they sent anyone else in. The crew chief asked me if I wanted to send a message to anyone. I thought about that for a moment. I said yes. I told him what to transmit. They brought me to the surface holding camp before they brought me to the capital, and a sovereignty medical officer checked me over with the kind of focused, quiet efficiency that meant she was finding more than she was saying. 3 years of eating what I could find in a ruin will do that to a man. She cleared me for transport, which I took as a good sign. They gave me clean clothes and something hot to drink, and nobody asked me to do anything for almost 4 hours, which was the strangest 4 hours of my life. The transport to the capital was a 6-hour flight over the Reach. I watched the Denvrath terrain flatten out below us, all that vine-choked broken stone that I had come to know the way you know the inside of a house you have lived in for years, every threshold, every stubborn door, every place the floor was soft, and I felt something release in my chest that I hadn't known was still clenched. I thought about Vareth the whole flight. I thought about her the way I had let myself think about her in the ruin only on the good nights, when the structure was quiet and I had eaten enough and the fire was steady. I did not let myself think about her on the bad nights. On the bad nights I only thought about the next problem in front of me, because if I had thought about Vareth on the bad nights I would have stopped solving problems. What I did not know, and what the transport crew was careful not to tell me until we were an hour out, was that the message had reached the sovereignty before us, and that Vareth had been told we were bringing in a body for identification. The crew chief had gotten it wrong, or the relay had, or someone had assumed. I don't know how it happened. What I know is what I saw when we landed at the outer courtyard of the sovereignty hold, and the side door opened, and I stepped down onto the stone with my survey pack still on my shoulder because I hadn't let anyone take it from me since they found me. The courtyard was not empty. There were court officials in the formal deep green robes of the sovereignty inner circle, 6 of them, standing to one side in a loose group with the particular stillness of people who have arranged their faces into something appropriate. There were 2 honor guard soldiers with the ceremonial short stave held at their left sides. There was a medical examiner with a portable identification case, which told me everything about what they had been told to expect. And there was Vareth. She was standing apart from the officials, slightly ahead of them, and she was in travel clothes, not court dress, which meant she had come quickly, come before they could prepare her properly for a formal identification, come because she had needed to come and had not wanted to wait for anyone to dress her for it. Her hair was shorter than I remembered, 3 years shorter. The silver at her temples had spread. She was standing very straight with her hands together in front of her, which was the posture she used when she was holding herself together by the specific technical effort of standing straight. and she was looking at the transport with the particular kind of controlled stillness that I recognized as grief that had already done its worst work, and was now only waiting for confirmation. I stepped down onto the courtyard stone. I watched her see me. It did not happen all at once. That was the thing I had not expected. I had imagined it might be sudden recognition like a door thrown open, but it moved across her face the way light moves across a room when the cloud shifts, slow at first, barely there, and then flooding. Her eyes found me and didn't know what they were seeing. Then they did know and they refused it. Then the refusal ran out. Her hands came apart. She did not move for a long moment. The court officials behind her were stirring, confused, looking between her and me and the medical examiner who was no longer needed. One of them said something I didn't hear. Vareth did not respond to it. She was looking at me with the look of someone who has spent 3 years learning to carry a specific weight and has just been told they can set it down, and doesn't yet believe their hands will remember how to be empty. I walked across the courtyard toward her. I walked at the pace I had walked in the ruin, measured, even, the pace of someone who knows exactly where he is going and has all the time in the world to get there. Not because I felt measured or even, because I wanted her to have enough time to believe it. When I was close enough that she could see my face properly, the new scar across my left jaw, the way 3 years of Denvrath had settled into the lines around my eyes, she drew one breath that was not like the other breaths she had been taking. "Torev," she said. "Not the way you say a name you are reading off a document. Not the way you say the name of the dead to identify them. She said it the way you say a word you have been carrying in your mouth for so long that the sound of it out loud surprises you." I stopped in front of her, close enough that I could have reached out, but I waited. "I mapped the lower hold," I said. "All 4 subsections. The eastern vault is stable enough for a recovery team. There's a documented water table and 2 transit passages the original survey missed. I drew it all out. I have the maps." I held up the survey pack by the strap. I didn't want to come back empty-handed. Her eyes were bright, not overflowing, bright the way still water is bright. "You were in there 3 years," she said. "Yes." "Alone?" "Yes." "And you mapped it." "It needed mapping." She reached out then and took the pack from my hand, not to carry it but to hold it, and her fingers closed around the worn strap, and she held on the way someone holds something they need to be real. Then she let out a sound that was not quite a breath and not quite anything else, and she put her hand against my chest, flat, feeling what was there. "You came back," she said. The court officials had gone very quiet behind her. The honor guard had not moved. The medical examiner had quietly folded up his identification case. "Vareth," I said, "I was always coming back. I just needed more time than I thought." She looked at me for a long moment, the Orath queen who had learned 3 years ago how to fold grief into the architecture of a day, how to hold court and issue writs, and sit at the head of her council with 3 years of loss, pressed flat beneath the formal posture. All of it was still there in her face, and something else was there now too, something that had been waiting under the grief the whole time, patient as the water table under the Denvrath ruin, waiting for someone to find it. She said my name again. This time it sounded like home.